Okay, today we would like to talk about some basic concept of the EasyBuild. EasyBuild is a build framework package or software that is used to install softwares in our computer's software stack. We follow this basic concept with 3 exercises. With first reinstalling a software that is already installed in your home directory, upgrading a software, and also modifying a source file of the software which is already installed. So all of these 3 exercises is about the software which is already installed in our CVMFS. You might be interested. Actually, these 3 exercises might be good exercises for you too to do. Why we need to reinstall a software which is already installed on CVMFS? The answer to this question is that some softwares, some genome software, comes with its own config file, and this config file needs to be customized. And this config file sits next to the executable file in CVMFS where the software is installed. So user needs to customize it, but they cannot do that because they cannot write anything on this on the install directory. The easy way is just to send us an email. We will fix that problem for you. But you might want to. It takes time, of course. We have lots of tickets. We are dealing with lots of tickets, and it takes time for users. But this is something that user can also try to do if they can use it, if they can solve this problem by themselves. It's good to learn. Or second group is that the group of people who have a software which is already installed, but they want to upgrade it. They can also send an email to us, and we do it for them. But something that they can do by themselves if they are interested. A third group is actually the developer or debugger people who have a software, but they want to add something into the source file, and they want to install it. This one, we do it only on the home directory of the users. We do not do it on the CVMFS. So this is something that also user can learn how to do that by themselves. Before we go to the more deep into the EasyBuild, let's clarify something here. When we talk about installation, we have 2 types of installation: a globally installation, which is on the CVMFS in our Compute CAD software stack I'm talking about. This done only by admin. User cannot modify any file or any directory in CVMFS, and is installed only once by the admin for users. The second type of installation is installing in the user's home directory. If we use EasyBuild to do that, the software usually installed in your home directory, subdirectory.local, subdirectory EasyBuild, and subdirectories in EasyBuild. The install can be done by user and admin, and user, of course, can modify or delete the file. The files of, I mean, the executable file I'm talking about. By default, it is only accessible by users. Let's talk about what's the traditional method of installing. The traditional method of installing is that the user needs to download the source file. If it's open source, you need to download the source file. Depending on the software that you are downloading or you're using, you might find a file which is called configure. You run this configure with the proper argument. It's very tricky. That configure makes you or provide you a file which is called make file. You use a command like make, and that make takes the make file as an input, compile your cat package, and make an executable file for you. And command make install, copy the executable file into your install directory. This is a traditional way. It's sometimes very complicated. You cannot always reproduce it, particularly when you change the compiler version, when you change the dependencies version, they might not get the same result. Also, it requires a good knowledge of the compiler, or the options that you use in the compiler, and also good knowledge about your software. Okay, now let's go to EasyBuild. These are the issues that in EasyBuild you might get it a little bit milder, like better. In EasyBuild, the good things is that, so we use EasyBuild. EasyBuild is a software itself. It's written in Python, and we use that EasyBuild to install your software or any software. It is written in Python. It all of the software that you installed actually is in the different version. So every version has its own install directory, so that whenever you want to reproduce it, you always can use the older version of compiler. You always can use the older version of your dependencies. So you always can reproduce your result. It's not like when you upgrade your compiler, you get an error. The EasyBuild actually comes with a recipe. Recipe is designed by us. It's a text file. And if you can design this recipe, you can always pass it on to the others, and they can always use that recipe and reproduce your result and install your software in their own cluster computer. So it's a kind of standard way of installing software at the different clusters. EasyBuild always, when you install software using EasyBuild, there is a subdirectory in your install directory. It's called EasyBuild, and it contains your recipe, patch file, how you compile it, what options did you use it, everything that you use at the installation time, you can find it in that subdirectory. So it always can refer to that subdirectory and reproduce your result. Using EasyBuild to install software is still complicated, but the complication part, which is designing a recipe, is only done by the admin at the installation time for the first time. So since we are not designing any recipe, it should be easy for us to change the recipe. Changing the recipe is easy, is okay, but designing is a little bit tricky and complicated. Okay, so as I said, EasyBuild comes with a recipe. It's in the text file. It's complicated to design it, but it's easy to change it. You can find a collection of all easy recipe, or we call it easy config. You can find a collection of them in this website. And like I said, when you successfully install a software, the subdirectory of EasyBuild in your install directory contains all recipes, patch files, and log file that you can use it for if you want to reproduce it. Every recipe has its own way of writing. The name of the file has its own format. First, start with the software name. For example, here's an example here. You see, BioPerl is a software that is widely used by genomes people. The recipe start with the BioPerl, the name, and then follow with the version of the software, 1.7.5, and then how we compile it. We use Perl to compile it, and then the version of the Perl we use. It's just a notation for yourself. It's not something that it has to be, but usually it's like this. And the extension is, of course, .eb. This is an example of the recipe that I brought you here. It's very complicated to discuss about everything, but I just pick up the most fundamental things and important things to talk about. These are in the right side. You see this. The file name is called, I don't know, is about blast. that is used by genomes people, BLAST+. The name of the software is in the parameter, which is called name. And if you want to call that name somewhere in the recipe, you have to use %, name, and then S. The version of the software is written on the recipe is 2.4.0. The homepage where you can find, where is the homepage of this software? And then the description, a short description about the software. Actually, this software is the description is exactly the same as once you go to our document available software, you will see the description. Actually, that description is taken from here, from this part of the recipe. Then you will have a source URL, how EasyBuild or where should look for your software source file to download, and then the name of the file, which is name of the source code, in tar or GZ format. What would be the dependencies, build dependencies parameters you have to write down that shows dependency of the BLAST. So here BLAST depend on the Boost and Python. And then sanity check path parameter in your recipe, which is followed by a bunch of executable file. So what EasyBuild does is that first it install your software and then look at the parameters sanity check path and files, and then look those files into install directory. And if you find those files, that means the EasyBuild successfully built your software. If you cannot one of these files that is mentioned in sanity check into install directory, it gives you an error. This is the very short description about the recipe of the software. Any questions so far?
There were several questions in the chat. I think I answered them. So there's one question from Barbara about installing precompiled software. So commercial software where you can download only an executable, but not the source code. Does EasyBuild help with that or not?
Yes, EasyBuild also can install those package. If I can go back to here, if you see here, the first line is easy block, is configure make. That means we expect the software use configure, make, and make install, exactly what I explained in the traditional. But the software, commercial software, comes with only with executables. So this easy block should be changed with something like, I don't know, something like CMD or something like binary that only copy the file. It just download the file, or if it's not downloadable, it can take it from the directory where the recipe is, and then open it, untar it, and then just copy it into the install directory. Nothing else. It doesn't compile.
What would the purpose would be of using EasyBuild to install a binary? Because a binary you cannot do much with it, right? So unless you want to, I guess, patch the binary and replace the libraries.
Yeah, that's just a standard way of compiling. You can always use the log file that you see. Unless you document what you're doing, there is no difference between EasyBuild or something else. But EasyBuild is well documented. It will well document everything for you. Your recipe is ready for future. Your log file, whatever you get in the output while you're installing, it's all stored in some places, organized way, so we can always refer to that. If you can document whatever you do during the installation, no, you don't need EasyBuild in that particular example. Okay, what is the process of installing using EasyBuild? EasyBuild command is EB, and then the path to the recipe. That's the only thing you have to write in your command line, Linux command line. What does EasyBuild do? First, it downloads the source file, look at the URL source, as I explained in the recipe, download the source file, compare the checksum of the file that is downloaded to see if the file is not corrupted, and then apply patches. Patches, we talk about it later in example 3. And then build it, compile it. Once the compilation finished, you copy the executable file into install path. So keep in mind, install path here is %, install dir, close bracket, and then S. And then check the executable file to see if this is what we are wanted, if they are what we expected. If yes, then make a module of that, and then end. That's it. These are the useful names or value that good to know. If you want to call a name of the software during the recipe, you have to use %name, name lower, version major, version minor, and so on. This is an example for you. For example, if the software's name is Fast Annie, you will see that Fast Annie contains capital letter and small letters too. And if you specify version 3.2.1, so if you want to call name anywhere in the recipe, you can use always %name. If you want to call the name only in the lowercase, you have to use name lowercase. So name lowercase in this case is Fast Annie. And version major in this example is 3.2. These are for if you want to somehow design or write down a recipe from scratch. We don't do that in this webinar. We just want to modify that. Okay, we would like to do the exercises now, but before that, let me just clear something for you about the module command. We all know what module command does. Module is just to load the software. What does it mean by that? What do you mean by loading the software? That means that the executable file, which is usually sit on the install directory, subdirectory bin, will be added to the default searching path. So computer, no matter which directory you are, it always go to the subdirectory bin of the install dir and look for your executable file and run it for you. That's why when you run the module, if it is successful, you can always run your program wherever you are, no matter which directory you are, because computer always can find the executable file for you. The same for library path and some other parameters. But something that is very interesting for us for today is that when you do a successful module command, there is an environmental variable set for you, which is called EB root, followed with the name of the software in capital. If you display the content of this environmental variable, it would be the path to the install directory. Here is an example. If you load GrowMax, as you can see in this example, depends on GCC compiler and OpenMPI. So if you load GCC, OpenMPI, and GrowMax and display the environmental variable called EB root GrowMax, all in capital, the answer, the output would be where the GrowMax is installed. Here is in this example, you will see that it is on the CMFS. So you load a GrowMax which is globally installed. Okay. Let's discuss now let's go to the reinstalling the software as a first exercise. What we want to do is find the recipe of the software, copy the recipe and probably patch file into a directory in our home directory, and then run EB to install the software for us. Okay, if it is okay with you, if there is no question so far, I would like to do this demo on the command line, so it's easier for us to learn. Any question? I stop the sharing and go to the demo.
And feel free to unmute yourself if you have a question. I think I answered all questions in the chat, but if you still have a question, feel free to unmute at this point.
This is my command line. I'm on Cedar 5 login node, and I would like to install. I would like to reinstall a software called Ortho MCL. The first thing I should do is to find the recipe. In order to find the recipe, I have to load the module. In order to load the module, I have to see what version I need and what is the dependencies of Ortho MCL. So first of all, we do module spider Ortho MCL to find the latest version. I hope the cluster is okay. Good. I see first of all, the latest version here. The latest version is 209. Let's do again module spider Ortho MCL 209 to see the dependencies. What I should load first in order to load Ortho MCL. There are 5 ways of loading this module. 3 of them is out of order, is out of support. We don't support anymore because they are in the old environment. These 3, we don't deal with that anymore. The only one is in the new environment and depends on nothing. So we just simply can module and then load and then Ortho MCL latest version. We load it. Loading is successful. That means those variables that I told you, EP root Ortho MCL, it's set for us. So let me just display the content of this environmental variable. So echo is to display an environment. I want to see the content of the environmental variable. So I just have to use $EB and then root and then Ortho MCL. So the output is where this software is installed. So if I go to this software, if I see the directory, list of the directory in this directory, I see there is one subdirectory is called EasyBuild. So if I see the content or the list directory in this subdirectory, I see must see all the recipes, all the patch file, everything. So let's see the list. Yes, the recipe is here. You see the extension is EP. This is the recipe. This software has one patch file. This patch file is created by the admin at the installation time. It should be, otherwise this software should not be installed or cannot be installed. There are log file here and many other things. What I want to do is to copy this recipe and patch file into my home directory. So let's be a little bit organized for the exercise number 1. Let's make directory. I call it reinstall in my home directory. So I want to copy these recipes and patch file from the CMFS into my reinstall directory. There are many ways to do that. I can go to reinstall directory like now, and then copy. CP is a command to copy, and then go to this from this directory. Everything that has the extension of EB, I want to copy that into current directory, which is reinstalled. There's only one file. I saw that already. And then do it again for the patch file as well, because I need the patch file. patch file. So I expected to see 2 files at least into my own directory. Yes, that is the author MCL 209 and the patch file. This is the only thing I need to reinstall it, to reinstall these softwares. In order to reinstall it, the command is EB. I have to use an option which is called -F. I force it because if I don't use this option, EasyBuild tells me that this software is already installed. Why you want to reinstall it? But I want to reinstall it. So because I want to maybe change some files. The recipe is in the current directory, so I use this one as the current directory and the name of the recipe. You will see that the process, it takes a little time. And then you might, okay, now it's preparing the software for us, downloading, configuring, now it's installing, and then sanity checking to see if the file has been correctly copied, is done. Now it's creating model for me. Okay, now I have 2 identical copy of these softwares. Let's do this example. Let's do this exercise. I unload the module Ortho MCL because I loaded before. I unload it. And now I load it again. Which one would be load? The one in CVFS or the one in my home directory? How we can figure it out? Again, I have to display the environmental variable EB root ortho MCL to see which one is now loaded. EB root ortho MCL. Root or yes. You see that the install directory for me is in my home directory. So the one that the Ortho MCL that is installed on my home directory has been loaded, not the one on CVFS. It is always like this. The one on your personal directory has more priority to be loaded, if it exists. Okay, let's go back to the slides, and then let's go for the second exercise. Now we want to upgrade it. Okay, sorry for taking time. Okay. Is this okay? For upgrading, I would like to have another example just for variety. I would like to use a software which is called FastAny. The recipe is here. You see the FastAny version, how it compiles using the GCC, and version of the GCC is 9.3.0. This is the part of the recipe. I don't want to show all of them because that don't have place. The things that I want to practice on today in this exercise is checksum. The name is FastAny, version is 1.32. Source URL is here. The source file also you can figure out what's the name of the source file is V, and then the content of the version, which is 1.32. So the name of the file would be v1.32.zip. This is the name of the source file, right? This file name has one patch file. This is the name of the patch file, and there is a parameter which is called checksum, contains 2 groups of number. The first group belongs to the source file, and the next numbers belongs to the FastAny. It belongs to the batch file. Sorry. You might want to ask what is checksum. Every file has a unique digital signature. The command, lots of commands to show this digital signature in a different way. One command would be SHA-256 sum, followed with the file name. It gives you a number. So we have to find out this number for the new version. We have it for the old version, as you saw in the recipe. We want to upgrade it, so the source file will change. We go to 1.3 point something, but we don't have the number for that. We don't have the checksum for that. So what we can do, we should manually download the file, the zip file, and run the command SHA-256 on the zip file and get the number and insert that number into the recipe. So EasyBuild, when it's run, it downloads the source file and then do its own SHA-256 sum checksum and then compare with this number. If this number is the same, that means the file has been downloaded correctly. There is no corruption. If not, it gives you an error. It tells you that this file is corrupted or this number is not matched. Any question so far?
I need to explain my question because it's not clear. Can you find out the original link from where this software, which was installed, this version, was downloaded? Because in the past, for all the version, I found that Quantum Espresso version on Compute Canada was different, must have been different than on original web, because such a version doesn't even exist on Quantum Express. So I would like to have on all this installation link where this software was originally downloaded. Can you find out for this example?
You're talking about Quantum Espresso, or you're talking about this example that I am?
I mean, you have example of a software which is installed, there is a recipe, but we don't see the URL from where it was downloaded.
Okay, if I come back to this recipe, if you talk about FastAny, the source URL is https GitHub Parbliss and then FastAny and then archive. This is the URL, but it has to be followed with the name of the file, which is.
Yeah, but there is no version, like the link needs to have the version, everything, like it should be specific, like.
Correct. Yes.
That's
what I said.
It's not specific. It
Correct.
show.
Yes. You're right. It's not specific, but the specific will be determined. It's be specified in the source. So look at the source. Source is V, and then percentage version and zip. So if you by the end of the next page, I can answer your questions. It's very clear now. We can come back to that question after this page. So like I said, we have to manually download these softwares. Download these softwares, the source file, and find out the checksum. This is the URL of that software, but this is not all. We need the name of the software too in order to download it, and that makes it different from version to version. At the end, if you see, is V1.32 is specifically written here. That's why maybe it's the answer to your questions. If you are interested, let's go to do the second exercise, and then we come back again for the third exercise. We want to upgrade the FastAny to the latest version. It is okay. It is should be fine to upgrade FastAny minor from 1.32 to 1.33 or 33 or 1.34. The major update usually is not successful using this method that I'm going to explain, but you can try. Okay, I stopped sharing again, and then go back to my demo. I am in a reinstall directory. I don't want to be here. I go back because I don't want to touch this directory anymore. I make a new directory. I call it, I don't know, upgrade. And then I go to this subdirectory. What I want to do in this exercise. First, I need to download the new version of the source file. Use command sha256sum to take that number, insert that number into the recipe, and change the version of the recipe, and then run the EasyBuild again. To do that, I need a copy of the recipe first of all. So again, exactly the same as before. I need to find out the recipe version. Yes, the recipe of the software and the patch file. Again, module spider fastAny to find the latest version. The latest version is 1.32. If you go to the website of the fastAny, you will see the latest version is 1.33. So we can upgrade it by ourselves into home directory, inside the home directory. So let's see the latest version, what the dependencies. So module, spider, fastAny 1.32. We will see that this software installed by GCC compiler and Intel compiler. Whichever you want, you can choose it. I want to choose the GCC one. So dependency of this software is GCC 9.3. So I use module, load, GCC 9.3, and the software fastAny 1.32. I can write it in one line altogether to load this package. Package is load. I expected that this environmental variable EB root fastAny is set for me because I want to find the installation directory. Echo EB root fastAny. The install directory is this one. So if I go to this directory, if I make a list of this directory, I expect to see a subdirectory called EasyBuild. Yes, exists. So, and if I see the list of the directory within EasyBuild subdirectory, I expect to see the recipe, patch file, and log file. These are during the installation date that has been produced. So I found the recipe, I found the patch file. I want to copy them into this directory upgrade because I want to change them. I want to modify the recipe. So CP from the install directory, subdirectory EasyBuild, everything that has EB, I want to EB extension, I want to copy it here. The same for patch. So I expect to see two files here. Yes, recipe and patch. But this is not enough for me. I need to download the file, the source file too, because I need to change the checksum. The website for that, as you can see in the recipe, let me just show it to you. Cat is for showing the content of a file. You see that the website is this one, is the source URL. So I can write get. wget is to download a file from a website. This is the website, but this is the source file, v1.33.zip, right? Not 1.32, 1.33 because I want to upgrade this. Is downloading the file, download is finished, and if I see the directory, I have one extra file, v133zip is the source file. So I want to know the checksum for this because I want to insert this number into my recipe. So SHA 256, yeah, so 256. and then name of this file. It gives me a number, a big number. I have to replace this number with the version 1.3, with the checksum of 1.32. So I mark here and I go to Fast Annie recipe. It's a recipe. Okay, this is the name, version, home page, description, and here down here I see checksum, the two numbers here. The first number is for source file always, so I want to change it. So I delete this one. I put the one that I just calculated, and then the second one is in the for patch file. I didn't change the patch file, so I don't change it. But there is one thing that I need to change again. This is version. Version is 1.32. I want 1.33. Okay. Nothing else. We just save it. Do I have to save it the same file? Probably not, because the version is changed. Some file name also better to be changed. So I name it, write it in the Fast Andy 1.33 GCC 9.30. Okay, now I expect it to have a new file, new recipe. Let's go out. I don't want to save it anymore. Make a directory, and I have two recipes. One of them is the one that I want, is the new version. Now I want to run it because I want to install it. So EB, I don't need to write -F because there's nowhere else is installed. This software is nowhere else is installed, so it's installed for me. You don't need -F anymore. You can put it anyway. And then let's start processing, download the source file for itself. I mean, for preparing the directory, configuring. It takes a little bit time to build it. Hope it's finished fast. Sanity check. Make a module. Creating a module. And takes a little bit time because I believe the cluster is busy. File system cluster is very busy today. Okay, that's done. So if I just use module spider fast and me, I expect to see the latest version is 1.33. Right? It's 1.3. So I've successfully upgraded this fast and without even knowing how to install or make it. Okay, let's go to the third. Let's go back to the slides and then do the last example, which is a little bit more tricky. It's for mostly people who want to add something into the source file. I don't know, some write statements, write some debugging or some changing the source file. And let's see how we can do that. These are the, oh, sorry. Okay, sorry about that. Again, we stick on Fast Any. We want to we don't want to upgrade it. We use the 1.32 version, but we want to change the source file. When we want to change the source file, that means we want to add an extra patch file for that. So what is the patch file? Patch file is the text file that consists of all difference. So if a file, even one file is changing in the source file, you have to make a patch file that tells EasyBuild what has been changed and do that change for me and then compile it for me. How we can produce the patch file? By using a command diff. Diff followed with two arguments. First one is the original file name, and the second argument is the recent file name, that the file that has been changed. And the diff gives us what has been changed. And then I put the output of the diff into the file, into the patch file, and give it to EasyBuild. This is what I want to do. First, let's see the example of a patch file. How does it look like? This is the example of the patch file. The original file is makefile.in. The modified version of that file is the difference is just two lines. You see, the line that's start with minus has been taken off, and the line which is with the positive at the beginning, plus sign at the beginning, is the line that has been added. So the line with negative sign or minus sign is gone. The one with the positive plus sign is added. This is the patch file. This is just an example. What we're going to do in this example, first we prepare the directories, exactly the same as before. We have to download the source file. In this example, we even want to untar the source file. We untar it, we change one of those files, and once we change it, we make a patch file out of that change and tell EasyBuild to use this patch file. So what EasyBuild does is that it downloads the source file for itself, it downloaded, and then applied the patch file that I gave it to EasyBuild, and then that means the source file is changed, and then it compiles the modified version of the source file. This is what we want to do. Okay, so if you are interested, let's go back again into the demo and quickly do the any questions so far? Okay, I'm gonna go out of this subdirectory and make another one. Maybe modify, and then go to the modify because I want to mix up with the other versions. I have fast Annie 1.32. I have to load it first. The dependencies has already been loaded. GCC has already been loaded, so I just have to load 1.32. Okay. I do it fast, this part, because I just want to copy the recipe of this fast Annie into this directory, recipe and the patch file. Okay. So CP, I can do the shortcut, EB root, fast Annie, EasyBuild, and then everything EB to here. And then the same for patch file. Okay, if you see directory list, I have these two files that I already downloaded in previous exercise. I do it again. Now I have something extra. I want to download the source file and untar it. Let's first load it. I believe I have somewhere here yes, wget. I want 3.2 to be downloaded. So wget. I see the list of the directory. I have 1.3.2 zip here. Now I want to do something extra in this example. I untar it. This is I have never been done in the exercise 2. I untar it. These are the whole software source files. I know already what I want to do. I want to change one file. The file is in this src. Oh, sorry. First of all, let's see the list of the file and directory. You see that there is one directory extra here I have. This is the directory where the source file is. I go to this directory. I call it top directory of the source file. And then I go to subdirectory src and cgi. Okay, this is just an example. I wanted to change one of those files. You can change any of them, doesn't matter. For this particular example, I want to change this part, this file, core genomes identity, a little bit. If I want to change it, I have to have the original version too. So let's copy. Let's copy this file into the file that with extension orig. Okay. Now I can change this file. I change this file. Let's see how I can want to change it. Let's go to line 32. I am in line 32. This is line 32 here. Then I add something. Let me just, oh, sorry, this is just a test. Okay. Actually, this does nothing actually. It's just a comment, but you can change, you can do a real change. All right, I save this file, I'll go out. Now I have two files. Let's see, I have two files. One of them is different from the others. They are not identical anymore. So I have to make a patch file after these two files. In order to make a patch file, always keep in mind, you go to the top directory of the source file. This is the top directory of the source file. I'm still in the source file, but the top directory. I use diff-u. The file, which file has been changed? The file that has in the subdirectory src, cgi, and the core. This is the original file. This is the original file. And then what is the file that has been changed? This is the file that has been changed, right? One of them is original. One of them is the final. If I use this command, I'll see this file is being only modified by this line. The blank line, negative sign has been gone. The plus sign has this line. So the blank line gone. This line is come. So this is the patch file. I want to store it in a file, not in the monitor. I want to store it in the file. This sign is for storing in the file. Where the file want to be located? One directory top, where the recipes are. What's the name? The name is, let's call it FastAndy32. Let's call it FastAndy test 32. And then the extension is patch. All right, now I'm done with the source file. That's it. I made a patch file, I'm done. I go back into the directory where recipes are, and I see that one extra patch file I have here, one test here. Okay, so I have to run the EB for that. Can I run? No, because I don't have the checksum yet. So I have to do the checksum. SHA 256 sum of this patch file because I want to insert it into the recipe. This is the number, digital signature for this file. I copy that and paste it into my recipe. I go to recipe, FastAndy, 1.32 GCC, and then this is the source file. This is the patch file. I want to add it in here, the third one. So third one is okay. Number. This is just a comment. You can write whatever you want. well, I don't write anything for now because I think I forgot the name. I think it's fast any 1.32 test 1.32 patch. All right, so I add this number, but I also have to add the patch file. I have now two patch files. I have to add here, comma. Oh, no, sorry, it's not this one. The name I think is, okay. Let me, before just save it, go out. Let me just find the name, has to be the same. This is the name of the patch file. And then I add it here. That's it. So I have two patch file, three checksum, one of them is for source file. And I'm ready to build this, rebuild it actually, or reinstall it. It's a reinstallation because the version already installed, the version 1.3.2. So I use eb-f and then fast Andy. So you download the source file, apply to patch file, and then installing software, the modified version of the software for me in my home directory. Any question? Yes, when you change the, there is a question said that if you change the compiler from GCC or GNU compiler into the Intel, is everything needs to be changed? Compilers have different options. So in the options that you use for GCC, it might not be the same for Intel, so it needs to be changed. All the options in the GCC command line needs to be translated to the Intel one. That's the only thing I can see for now. Depends on the software. Yes, I'm suspicious on these compiler options. It needs to be changed. Usually when software is written and you're using the open source softwares, they are a standard for the GCC. If you want to use it for Intel, you might want to change these arguments, the options. Yeah, flags, sorry. Flags would be better.
Any other questions? Feel free to unmute yourself or type into chat. I have a question, Ara. So if, let's say, a user wants to install software and there is no recipe, so we don't have it installed as a module, and the user cannot find a recipe online. So of course, they can create a recipe from scratch. Would you recommend this, or would you advise them to contact us and ask us to create a recipe for them?
Knowing that the main work of you is the research, I would suggest you to write an email to us and let us to spend time for you instead of you, because we probably spend a little bit less time than you. It could be a very complicated process. It depends on the software, but yes, I recommend you to send an email to us and let us to install for you.